The 1-2. Chop toward third. It's a base hit and an RBI for Jeter, and the Yankees lead 3-0. And they toss that ball into the Yankee dugout in case it's his last one. Now, what does he want to do? And that is going to be it for Derek Jeter. His final hit, an RBI single, as Jeter says goodbye to baseball. And baseball says goodbye to him.
Hello, fans of all ages. This is indeed the Ryan Morik Show, coming to you live from Studio A, broadcasted on 90.3 WRPR FM. And if you're listening online, thank you for tuning in. Well, yesterday marked the end of arguably one of the greatest generations in sports. Derek Jeter, the face of baseball, had his last at-bat yesterday at Fenway Park. And in typical Jeter fashion, it was an RBI single, an RBI infield single, no less. And yesterday was a sad but very bittersweet day for me and for baseball fans all over the world. This sport lost an icon, and it's very sad that we might not see someone like Derek for a really, really long time. His last at-bat just shows you Derek Jeter as a person, as an athlete, as a sportsman. It was a little dribbler, high dribbler to third base, and at 40 years old, in a meaningless game, mathematically, his last game of his career, he's set for lifetimes. He's still sprinting to first base. What more can you ask from Derek Jeter? Of course he's going to hustle out that ball. He's hustled out every ground ball he's ever hit. He has never taken that 90 feet for granted. Every 90 feet is a goal for Derek. And that 90 feet meant no more or no less to any other 90 feet. Derek Jeter has always acted as each game, he pretended that they were all the same. If you look at his postseason stats and his regular season stats, they're almost identical. I think in the postseason, he had an 838 OPS. In the regular season, career-wise, it was 828. He played in 158 postseason games. He had 200 hits. He had 20 home runs. He had probably 60-some, 70-some RBIs. If you look at Derek Jeter's average season stats, it's probably 16, 17 home runs, about 180, 190 hits. It's somewhere in that ballpark. Whether it was the postseason, whether it was the All-Star game, whether it was spring training. Derek Jeter always played hard. And sports needs more Derek Jeters. I'm not saying go get 3,400 hits. Go win 5 world championships. I'm not saying in football, go be a dynasty and win 3 Super Bowls in a row. Don't throw for 6,000 yards in a year. You don't have to be an awesome athlete, an awesome player to be well-liked and be respected as much as Derek Jeter. And, of course, the better you are, the more recognition you're going to get. Take a look at Paul Konerko. Great player, not as good as Derek Jeter. Of course he's not going to get that much recognition. This is Derek Jeter we're talking about. But baseball and sports just need guys who hustle down to first base instead of hitting weak ground balls to second base, first base, and then running back into the dugout. Not a care in the world because they're still making millions of dollars a year. I was at the game Thursday night, Derek's last home game. I was with 20 of my family members. I was with my girlfriend. And what a way to go. I mean, it was absolutely perfect. You think to yourself, in the bottom of the first inning, his first at-bat, the crowd's going nuts, chanting Derek Jeter, saying thank you, one more year. And he goes up to the plate and rips an RBI double off the wall. First of all, that stadium that night, it sounded like a postseason game with the way the crowd was. Sold out. Everyone out of their seats, every seat filled. When Derek Jeter hit that double, I think to myself, typical Derek. Of course he's going to hit an RBI double his first at-bat. Because his entire career was a script written by Hollywood directors, I'm convinced. And then you think to yourself, okay, RBI double, take him out now, end him on a good note. Just kidding. But, and then he struck out in the 5th inning. I forgot what he did his second at-bat. So he comes up, bottom of the 7th inning, 2-2. Leading run on base. And then you think to yourself, all right, typical Derek. Of course he's going to drive this run in. Ground ball to short, broken bat, shocker. Shortstop botches it. E6, 2-run score. But a run would have scored anyway because that was not a double play ball. If fielded cleanly, I don't even think they would have gotten the guy out at second base. That was a bang-bang play. That was tough. But anyway, you think to yourself, Derek Jeter just got the game-winning RBI in his final home game. Unbelievable. And then the game becomes 5-2. David Robertson, brilliant all year. Brilliant. And whether you want Betances to close instead of Robertson, that's a discussion for another day. But winds up blowing it. I was thinking to myself, I was talking to my brother and my father. I said to myself, when you figure you're going to take him out with 2 outs in the top of the 9th. But then when, who was it? Was it Adam Jones? Yeah, Adam Jones hits a bomb to the left field seats to make it 5-4. And we turned to each other and said, 5-4 game, do you take Jeter out? And then what if they tie the game? Jeter was due up 3rd in the bottom of the 9th. Do you take him out? And of course, they wound up tying the game with 2 outs. So they left Jeter in with 2 outs. As soon as they left him in with 2 outs, I said to myself, this is Girardi's plan. Girardi has something really good planned right now. So 5-5, bottom of the 9th. I was talking to a bunch of people in my section. I do that at every game I go to. I just said to myself, Jose Perella, is that how you pronounce his name? He's going to get a single. Garner's going to get a sac bunt. And then Jeter's going to get the game-winning hit. And sure enough, I was right. Perella gets the single. Everyone, right away, bunt, 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 bunt. And imagine Perella or Garner got a walk-off hit with Jeter due up. I think that would be the first time the Yankees would boo a walk-off hit. But anyway, actually, when Garner got on base, after Garner's sac bunt, my uncle comes up to me. He says they're going to intentionally walk Derek. That would be a story. But anyway, I think as soon as Garner laid down the bunt, everyone in Yankee Stadium just stood up in unison. Everyone pulled out their phones. Everyone just started chanting, Derek Jeter. Thank you, Captain. And whatever Jeter chant you could think of that night, it was going on at that at-bat. And then pandemonium happens. Everyone just starts thinking to themselves, Derek Jeter's going to get the walk-off hit. And in typical, what else could you possibly ask for? Obviously, he's going to get the walk-off hit. This is Derek Jeter. He hit a home run for his 3,000th hit. This guy dove into the stands. He's made flip plays that no one could ever imagine. And then, you think to yourself, this is unbelievable, but is it really unbelievable? If it were anyone else, you wouldn't get it. But this is Derek Jeter. This is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't think it doesn't get any better than this. I have goosebumps talking about it right now. Here is Michael Kay with the call on Yes Network.
Now batting for the Yankees, number 2, Derek Jeter. Number 2.
Well, the script is there. The last page is in Derek's hands. Meek deals. Base hit to right field. Here comes Richardson. Here's the throw from Markakis. Richardson is safe. Derek Jeter ends his final game with a walk-off single. Derek Jeter, where fantasy becomes reality. Did you have any doubt?
Derek Jeter, where fantasy becomes reality. And it's the truth. Fantasy becomes reality when you talk about Derek Jeter. I don't think I've ever screamed so loudly about a game before. I was in shock, but again, you can't be because it's Derek. At that point, when he gets that hit, and me, personally, I don't know the Yankees without Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter's been in the league for 20 seasons. I'm 19 years old. Do the math. Barring injuries. but there was always hope that he was going to come back. So anyway, I'm now officially in the non-Derek Jeter era. And it's tough. So anyway, I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But anyway, when he gets the hit, you think to yourself, that really just happened. And then about a minute later, you think to yourself, this is it. This is the last time you see Derek Jeter put a uniform on. And I think when I realized that, that's when I just started crying in my seats. I was at the third deck, and I was just crying my eyes out. Because for me, it's more about Derek Jeter being a good ball player. It's not just him getting 3,400 plus hits, 3,465 exactly. It's more than just him making insane plays. Like I said before, this guy was one of the most influential athletes of all time, definitely in my generation. And when you realize that there's not that many of them left, and there's probably never going to be another Derek Jeter, and especially when you're a Yankee fan like me. I try to watch every Yankee game I can. When you realize that one of your role models is gone in the sport, it hits you. Trust me. I can imagine every Bulls fan was hysterical when Michael Jordan retired. I'm sure if you're a Devil fan as much as I am a Yankee fan, and I'm a Devil fan, big Devil fan, but I wasn't crying when Marty Brodeur said goodbye. If you're like me with the Devils, you probably were crying. This guy, I'm in a men's league, and I continue to play just like him. I wear my arm sleeve on my left arm just like him. The only thing that's different about us is that I play first base and pitcher, and he's a shortstop. There are no words. It's so sad to see your role model leave the game. So I'm in my seat and I'm crying. My girlfriend's hugging me like a baby. I'm crying on her shoulder. And all my cousins are telling me, do you need tissues? And I'm like, yeah. And then you see Bernie, Tino, Jorge, Mariano, Andy, Joe Torre, and Derek's friend Gerald on the field. You start losing it again because you realize this is the end of not only Derek Jeter, but the end of the core four. And I cried when all three of them retired. You were crying again during his interview. I'm trying to chant his name with tears flowing down my face. Not an easy task. And then I finally got a hold of myself. I tried to just think to myself, this is a celebration. Stop being so upset. And then My Way by Frank Sinatra comes on. And listen to the lyrics. The end is near. I did it my way. Listen to the lyrics. And that's the song that was used in the Gatorade commercial. That song comes on blaring through the stadium. And Derek Jeter takes one final lap. He went to shortstop, did his prayer. That was an awesome moment. But he finally takes one more lap around the infield, saluting everyone, saying thank you. And my seats were in left field. So by the time he reached shortstop, he was kind of sort of facing my section. And I figured I got to take my hat off. I got to salute him. And his hat was off, and my hat was off. And he obviously wasn't directly pointing at me. He was just pointing and saluting in that general area. And I think I started losing it again right there. Because I'm not saying we had a magical moment, but it felt like you did. Because we were just looking right at each other and just saluting each other. He said in his post-game interview with Meredith and Morik, if it's on, yes. We were thanking him, and he was like, what are you thanking me for? And he thanked the fans, us. Derek, we can't thank you enough for not only your skill, but just being a role model and everything you've done for the game. And I cried again yesterday. I might have cried even worse yesterday than I did at the game on Thursday. But now you think to yourself, who is the leader of the New York Yankees? Trivia question. Who pinch ran for Derek Jeter yesterday? Brian McCann. Brian McCann, I don't think, has ever been a pinch runner in his entire life. I think that's a symbolic sign. I think Brian McCann plays with a lot of emotion, always has. Look at his walk-off home run against, who was it against? I forgot. But it was in August. He was screaming and cheering the entire time he was running around the bases. I think yesterday when Brian McCann pinch ran for Derek, I think that was the passing of the torch. And I wish I knew what Derek said to Brian McCann and Clay Buchholz when he walked off the field. But I don't think there's going to be a captain of the Yankees for a very long time. But I do think if there's going to be a leader of this team, I think it's going to be Brian McCann by default. Because he plays with a lot of emotion. So no Derek Jeter. But Alex Rodriguez is back. Let's take a look at the 2015 Yankees really quickly. You have a hole at shortstop, and they're going to try their best. I'm praying they get Tulowitzki, but they're going to have to get rid of probably Betances, probably Gardner, and if not, probably their best shortstop in their farm system for Tulowitzki. So that's probably not going to happen, but let's say they're probably going to get an average shortstop. You probably put A-Rod at third. Second base, they haven't had a full-time second baseman all year. So I guess you're stuck, maybe Martin Prado. First base, hopefully a healthy Mark Teixeira. You got McCann behind the plate. That field's going to probably, barring trades, Gardner, Ellsbury, and Prado, Beltran. And then the rotation is going to be pretty good. Let's hope Tanaka stays healthy. That's all we can pray for. Pineda, he's not going to throw sub-2 ERA ball, but he's going to be really good. Let's hope CeCe's healthy. Nova, he had Tommy John. He'll probably be back June, July, so you got to find a hole for him. And the fifth starter is up in the air, probably Shane Green, maybe David Phelps. And they're going to try to pursue Max Scherzer and John Lester. I don't think they're going to – I'll be shocked if they get at least one of them because they just spent $500 billion in the offseason for Tanaka, Ellsbury, Beltran, and McCann. And I think the 2015 Yankees, I think they have a chance to be a postseason team. How many people saw Derek Jeter bat 250, what did he finish, 255 on the year? No one saw that coming. No one saw McCann hitting 240. No one saw Beltran hitting 240. No one saw Teixeira miss 3 games a week and bat 210. No one saw Gardner batting 260. No one saw Ellsbury hovering around 270, 280 all year. And no one saw 80% of the pitching staff go down for extended periods of time. Not saying that the pitching was the issue with this team this year, because it definitely wasn't. But you hope to have a healthy rotation next year. Who knows about the closing role, because David Robertson is definitely looking forward to being a free agent, especially after this year. So you have Robertson or probably Betances if they don't sign anyone at the closing role. I think Brian McCann, what we saw of him in September, I think that's a sign of good things to come. I think that he finally got used to Yankee Stadium, and I think he's going to love that right field short porch next year. I could see him being a 30-home run guy. He hit, how many, 9 in September? With 22, 23 on the year total. I think that's a sign of good things to come, and Beltran's not going to hit 240 again. Ellsbury, let's hope he goes back to his old ways. Let's hope he bats 280, 290. Same thing with Gardner. He's been improving a lot. I see this team, I'm not sure if they're a 90-win team yet, but I think the Royals won 89. They made the postseason. I think the Giants had, 87, 88 wins? They're in the postseason. They're in the wild card game, but they're in the postseason. The Yankees are going to be watching the wild card game on their TVs. I'm not making any guarantees, but I'm not saying that the Yankees are going to stink for a long time. 84 wins. They had 85 last year. 85, yeah. I think they had 85 last year, 84 this year. For the Yankees, that's terrible. But teams would kill to have a record of 500 or more, 81 wins. And on top of that, the Yankees' run differential was minus 30-something more? To finish over 500 with a negative run differential is very impressive. Props to Joe Girardi. I think he's a stat guy, and I don't like that so much, but he is a great manager. He shows a love for his players. He shows emotion for his players, and I've become a big fan of him over the years. And I guess I kind of had to because he's been the manager for 6 years already. He's at the halfway mark of Joe Torre's tenure, which is 12 years. So we'll see. I have good hopes for the Yankees next year, and especially if they somehow wind up getting Scherzer or Lester. Nelson Cruz is a free agent. They're going to be shopping for Tulowitzki. The bad thing about Tulowitzki, though, is that they're going to have to get rid of too much. I like Gardner. I like Betances. Rob Refsnyder is great down at the farm system. He's probably going to make the team next year, especially with holes at short and second. So watch out for that guy. If you've never heard of him, look him up. He has Robbie Cano-like talent. And I saw Robbie Cano in spring training when I lived down in Florida. I said, who is this Cano guy? And he turned out being one of the best Yankees I've ever seen. Not the most loyal, and not the most, not the hardest trying, but you can't question that guy's skill. He's awesome. Moving on to the postseason. The regular season's over. I have no idea what I'm going to do with myself. But now I have some postseason ball. And that starts tomorrow with the Oakland A's and the Kansas City Royals. The Kansas City Royals are making their first postseason appearance since 1985. Good for them. Really happy for them. They deserved it. They're 89 wins this year, 86 last year. They're becoming a great team. It's going to be Lester versus James Shields. Pitching-wise, I give the edge to the A's. And I think before the trade deadline, I would have given this game to the A's, definitely. But now You have Kansas City at home in their first postseason game since 1985. You have a red-hot team, and you have a great pitcher in James Shields. Versus Leicester, but one of the coldest teams in the league. I think the Royals win this game, honestly, 1-0. I think this is a 1-0 game. I think Leicester and James Shields are going to both throw complete gems. And I think it's all going to come down to a lucky bounce. Probably a hit that's fair by an inch. That's going to be a really fun game to watch. I'm excited. I remember when Pittsburgh made the postseason last year, I watched that game just for the fans. Because remember, last year was the first time in, 21 years that the Pirates finished above 500, let alone made the postseason. I watched that game for the fans. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing the same. Because Kansas City is going to be rocking tomorrow. Kauffman Stadium is going to be electric. And speaking of Pittsburgh, tomorrow PNC Park is going to be bumping. You got Madison Bumgarner going for the Giants. You got Edison Volquez going for the Pirates. On a neutral field, I give this to the Giants. I think in a series, I give this to the Giants. I'm home field advantage, especially in places where the postseason isn't played too often. I'm a huge advocate in that. But I think the Giants are too good. Well, I shouldn't say that because they don't even have home field advantage, but I think Madison Bumgarner is one heck of a pitcher. And I think he's going to be enough to move the Giants into the division series. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if the Pirates win. That's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a close game. But I have the Giants winning that game. I think Madison Bumgarner is going to throw a great game. I don't think Edison Volquez is the guy you want in a postseason game. Maybe Liriano. But I think they're probably saving Liriano in case they play the division series in Game 1. And throwing Garrett Cole yesterday was a big risk. Because if he didn't throw yesterday, he'd be throwing today. I had a lot of questions about that yesterday. But, yeah. And then the division series starts October 2nd. It's going to be the Tigers against Baltimore. Baltimore has home field advantage in that one. That is going to be a great series. Even though Detroit is cold, they have not been great since that David Price trade. Their offense can light up, and they have a great pitching staff. Baltimore, though, great offense this year. And great month of September and August. They've been awesome. They were, the standings show it, but they were no doubt the best team in the AL East all year, even in the beginning of the year, by far. Pitching-wise, I give it to Detroit. Offensively, on paper, I give it to Detroit, but that's why games aren't played on paper. I think I really have no idea who's going to win this series. I'm going to give it to Baltimore 3-2. I think Kansas City wins tomorrow, but I think the Angels aren't going to sweep them. I think Kansas City will win one game, but the Angels are going to win that series. In the National League, Washington against the winner of the Giants and the Pirates. I think it's going to be the Giants, and I give the Giants that one. I think the Giants are going to play the Dodgers in the National League Championship Series. So that leaves Giants, Dodgers, and what did I say? Orioles and Angels. I'm going to say freeway series. I'm going to say LA versus LA, Angels versus Dodgers. I know that's so predictable, but the Angels are, I think, in my opinion, the best team in the league. Great pitching. Mike Trout is hungry. Mike Trout is hungry. Pujols is hungry. That whole team is hungry. They have been waiting for this postseason for years. Remember when they got Josh Hamilton and Albert Pujols? Everyone was saying they're going to win the World Series this year. I think it took them a little while to get their chemistry going, but they finally have it. I think the LA Angels are your 2014 World Series champions. Write it down and put my name on it. I hope Mike Trout just goes off. I mean, Mike Trout's my guy. Other than Derek Jeter, Mike Trout is my guy. And I think he's hungry. If you want a new face of the MLB, I think it's going to be Mike Trout. And what better way to birth a new face of the MLB with Mike Trout winning a World Series? I sure hope he does, because that would be one for the ages. One postseason legend retires, and another one is born. So that's my predictions. Angels in... Who would have the Angels? Angels in 6. There you go. Angels in 6 over the Dodgers. That's my prediction. Moving on to the New York Giants. Started out 0-2. Now they're at 2-2. One game back at the NFC East. And they look great, to say the least. They put up 45 against Washington. How many did they put up against Houston? 37, I think it was. Yeah, 37. And they're a big surprise. In the beginning of the year, during training camp, I honestly had them winning the division. I think Deshaun Jackson was a big loss for Philly. I'm not too sold on Nick Foles. And now with the way things are looking with the Sean McCoy, I'm surprised they even won 3 games. Well, who do they play? They played Jacksonville. Can't tell you who they play. Who did they lose to yesterday? San Fran. I forgot who they played the other 2 games. But I think the Giants are starting to settle in. Eli is starting to settle in just a little bit. Eli's completed 66% of his passes. Rashad Jennings is having a great year. I think he's averaging about 86 yards a game. What more can you ask from that? The Giants wanted Eli to complete 70% of his passes. Of course, he's not going to get 70% of his passes, but they'll be happy with 65. Even over 60, they'd be happy with. They said 70% because with this new West Coast offense, they're throwing a lot of screen passes, and they're not going for They're not going for it all on one play anymore. They obviously will every now and then, but this new offense is a lot more no huddles, a lot more screen passes, a lot of short plays, a lot of short and explosive plays. And how about Larry Donnell? Larry Donnell has been the biggest asset for this team after being one of the biggest questions in the offseason. The 2 questions that the Giants had were, how is the offensive line going to look? And they've been up and down. And how is the tight end going to look? And there is no question that Larry Donnell has been the team's biggest asset. He had 3 touchdowns against Washington. He's had 4 on the year. That leads the team. He is second in receiving yards and second in catches. Is he second in catches? He's either first or second in catches behind Victor Cruz. I'm not going to say watch out for the Giants, but they can be good. After those first 2 losses, I would have been shocked if they won 6 games. But now I think it's possible for them to finish at 500, maybe even more, possibly win the division. As for the other team in New York, the Jets, things are not looking too hot. How embarrassing is it when your home crowd chants for the other quarterback? First of all, I thought Michael Vick should have been the starting quarterback in the beginning of the year, but Geno had a great preseason. He played well. I don't think the Jet fans should be giving up on Geno right now. He's a rookie. He's going to make rookie mistakes. Every quarterback makes their mistakes. Everyone. Mike Vick is going to do the same. And honestly, if you put Mike Vick in this week, he'll probably be carted off. Because Mike Vick can't even give you a full season. Maybe that's why it would be a good idea to put him in. 4 games are already gone. That means Mike Vick would only have to play in, 12 games. But anyway, the Jet fans should not be giving up on Geno right now. Geno is not playing terribly. Yes, he's making some awful mistakes. His mechanics have been a little bit off. And honestly, the Jets are facing a 1-6 record. But you cannot blame that on Geno. You cannot blame that on Rex Ryan. You just have to blame that on a tough schedule. First game against Oakland, that should have been an easy win. They made it a little ugly. Second game, they were killing Green Bay, and they only lost because of that silly timeout. Against Chicago on Monday night, they competed in that game the entire time, and a couple of mistakes by Geno. And what else did they have? They had a pick six. I think they fumbled the kickoff. I don't remember. I didn't watch that game, but yeah, they fumbled the kickoff. And yesterday against Detroit, they were competing all day. They've competed in every game. Sadly, the standings don't show how you play. They only show if you won or lost. But the Jets have been playing have not been playing badly. They were every game against the NFC North, except they haven't played Minnesota yet. But every game they've played against the NFC North so far, they've only lost by a touchdown. There was a 1-possession game. Now you got to go on the road against San Diego. You got to go on the road against New England. You got to play the Broncos at home. It would have been ideal for the Jets to win just 1 game against the NFC North, because you figure these next 3 games are losses. I think the only chance they have of winning is against New England, because the Jets split against every division rival. That's just how it is. They always split. So they better hope that that game against New England is that 1 win. Their defense has been awesome. Their offense has no weapons. I heard on the Mike Lubica show today that Geno Smith had better weapons at West Virginia than he does right now. And with the exclusion of Eric Decker, he has a very good argument. The Jets have no receivers. They should sign me up. I'm 6'4". I got hands. Sign me up, Rex. But yeah, they're in a tough scenario right now. They're probably gonna go 1-6. And then what do they have after? That's a tough stretch. I'm taking a look right now. They have Chargers next week. San Diego's favored by 7, not a lot. I figured that would be more. Then the Broncos and the Patriots. Home against the Bills at Kansas City. You have to win against Buffalo. Because when they go 1-7, if they want to finish 9-7, they would have to win out. And they're probably not going to do that because they're at Kansas City in November. I don't know what the rest of their schedule is, but assuming they're losing these next 3 games, if they want to finish at 500 after going 1-6, they would have to go 7-2 in the remainder of their games. And that is not an easy task. You just got to hope to win one of these games and finish that stretch 2-5. Because it's a lot easier to finish at 500 from 2-5 than it is 1-6, especially if the New York Jets, because who knows what's going to happen with them. How about Steve Smith yesterday against his old team, against the Panthers? He went off. Talk about backing up your talk. Week 1, he said, "You guys think I can't play? You're going to find out week 4." And I think everyone found out. I think he said it in his post-game conference. He was like, "I'm 35 years old. And I made them look like kids in the backyard." And he definitely did. He had 130 yards. He had 7 catches. He had 2 touchdowns. If you picked up Steve Smith in fantasy, God bless you. That was very impressive. I thought the Cowboys had a very good win last night, but you have to remember the New Orleans Saints stink on the road. I think in their last 9 road games, they've won once. 1-8 in their last 9 games. That is not a stat that you should be proud of at all. I think the Cowboys, though, they're showing life. To be 3-1 with practically no defense, and now Morris Claiborne's out for the year. They've had a pretty impressive start. I don't think they'll keep it up unless if DeMarco Murray keeps going off. What a year he's having. He's been their best running back in the league, definitely. Because LaShawn McCoy has done nothing. Jamal Charles has done nothing. Adrian Peterson obviously hasn't done anything. And, of course, in both my leagues, I have Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson. Great. Just great for me, right? But DeMarco, first of all, his stats are incredible. Second of all, even if he had 100 less rushing yards, the guy is a straight bull. He runs people over like it's nothing. He got stopped like 2 yards away from the line of scrimmage yesterday, and it wound up being a 15-yard run. The guy doesn't go down. You need 4 guys to tackle him. He reminds me of Jeremy Shockey in the backfield. That's basically what he's like. Remember when Jeremy Shockey was in his prime against the Giants? It took 3 to 5 people to take that guy down. It was Murray DeMarco. Hopefully my dad's listening. DeMarco Murray is the best running back in the league right now. Packers had a nice win yesterday, 38-17 against Chicago. Rodgers 4 TDs. Big win for Green Bay. Big win for Green Bay. They had an 0-2 start. Fans were going crazy. And Aaron Rodgers said, relax. And I think they can relax now. Eddie Lacy has had a slow start, but, I mean, not a great game yesterday. 17 carries, 48 yards. That's not even 3 yards to carry. But he had a touchdown. Randall Cobb had a great day. Good for me. I got him on fantasy. 7 catches, 113 yards, 2 TDs. I think the Packers are fine. I think Green Bay is going to be perfectly fine. I think they have an easy schedule. Actually, do they have an easy schedule? Let me check. I don't remember. All I know is that in the beginning of the year, I had them finishing at 12-4. Let's see. This Thursday against Minnesota at home, and probably who knows about Teddy Bridgewater. That's a win. Oh, Packers are 2-2. Whoops, sorry. Then they're at Miami. That's probably a win. Then home against Carolina. I think they're going to win that game. Then they're at the Saints on a Sunday night. I think I'm going to give that one to the Saints. Then they're home against Chicago. I'm going to give that to Green Bay. I think they're just fine. They're in good hands. They're going to win that division. Who else had good wins yesterday? The Ravens had a great win against Carolina. What is with Carolina? Against Pittsburgh, they were awful. I versed Carolina last week. No, I versed Carolina this week. They had no sacks, no interceptions, no fumbles, no nothing for fantasy. They got my opponent -8 points. So that helped me out a lot. And even against Pittsburgh ran the ball down their throat. LeGarrette Blount and Le'Veon Bell, I'm pretty sure they both had 100-yard games. Le'Veon Bell was awesome. LeGarrette Blount was awesome. I don't know what's wrong with the Panthers D. And with their lack of offensive weapons, their offensive weapons, Cam Newton, of course, and Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen, those are your two best guys. Carolina's better pick up their defense because their season can end quickly. Speaking of the Steelers, that was a surprising loss to Tampa Bay yesterday. I thought they had that game won, and that's why sports are great, because they're never over until it's either 27 outs or triple zeros on the clock. Antonio Brown had a day, 7 catches, 131 yards, 2 TDs. Let's see. Bad thing about Tampa Bay, though, Mike Evans is going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. But he had a touchdown yesterday. DeMarco Murray had a touchdown run. And Vincent Jackson with the game winner with 7 seconds left. That was surprising. But, I mean, in the beginning of the year, I probably had Pittsburgh lose it to Carolina, and I had them beating Tampa Bay. So yesterday's loss doesn't kill them because they had a big win against Carolina, but that was a game they should have won last night. The Chargers, they are 4-0? They had another big win yesterday. Phillip Rivers doing Phillip River things, almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, 10 catches and 135 yards. If it weren't for the Denver Broncos, the Chargers would be a big threat in that division. The Chargers are good. I mean, they don't have Ryan Matthews anymore, but they can be a good team. No, they're 3-1. They're actually in first place. Well, the Broncos had a bye week yesterday, and they lost to Seattle, so that would make them 2-1. Yeah. So the Chargers are up by a half a game. Who do they have left? They have the Jets, then they're at Oakland, then they're home against Kansas City, then they're at Denver. That's going to be a great game. At Miami, home against Oakland, home against St. Louis, at Baltimore. Wow. San Diego has a pretty easy schedule, except for the games against Denver. They play New England, Denver, and San Fran in early to mid-December. Home against New England, home against Denver, and then at San Fran. Those are going to be some exciting games. That's going to show if the Chargers are the real deal or not. And even the game against Denver on the 23rd. So watch out for the Broncos in that division. Watch out for the Chargers, excuse me. The Falcons with a very surprising loss yesterday to Minnesota. That is not a team you want to lose to. What did they even do yesterday? Matt Ryan threw 2 picks. That doesn't help. Minnesota scored, how many? 13 in the last quarter? 14. Asiata, touchdown run. Blair Walsh, and then Blair Walsh again. Oh, they had a 2-point conversion. Okay. Yeah, Minnesota, shocking win. 49ers, nice win against Philly. Cowboys again, good win against the Saints. And tonight's game, Patriots and the Chiefs. That's going to be a good game. New England's offense has not produced like they should be. That could be a case of Tom Brady being 37 years old. That could be a case of Rob Gronkowski being on a completely other level than Edelman and Amendola and Brandon LaFell and all those guys. Because besides Gronk, they have no other weapons. Shane Vereen and Ridley have not been doing much, but you don't really expect them to because they split carries and who knows what they're doing with them. Kansas City, on the other hand, Jamal Charles has to do something. He has to just have a day. Once he has that one good game, he's going to coast. He's going to coast, and he's going to do really well. You better do well. I have him for fantasy, so pick it up, Jamal. Tonight, Kansas City's home. I have New England winning this one. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, probably like 21-17. Yeah, I'm going to go Patriots 21-17 in that one. Gronk is probably going to have a touchdown. Jamal Charles. The only way Kansas City is going to win tonight is if Jamal Charles plays well. If Jamal Charles does not play well, Kansas City is definitely losing. If Jamal Charles rushes for 100 yards and gets a couple touchdowns, maybe even one touchdown, then Kansas City has a very good chance of winning tonight. But right now, I give the edge to New England. And, yeah, New England better do something because what are the division standings in that one? New England's 2-1, Buffalo's 2-2, Miami's 2-2, the Jets are 1-3, and they're not going to make a comeback anytime soon. If New England loses tonight, there's a 3-way tie. New England is going to win the division. Buffalo and Miami are not threats. They're not going to be as long as Tom Brady's their quarterback, I don't think. I think the Patriots' position for the AFC East is safe. Sorry, Jet fans. That's just the way it is. The Patriots are one of the best teams. In the beginning of the year, I had them playing Seattle in the Super Bowl. Right now, I still have Seattle. I don't know who my AFC team is yet. There are only 2 undefeated teams in the league right now. The Cincinnati Bengals and the Arizona Cardinals. That surprises me. The Saints lost their first 2. Houston's 3-1. They can win the division. They're a good team. Who did Seattle lose to? Seattle lost to San Diego. That's right. This is going to be a fun football. This has been a fun football season. How many teams have no wins? Jacksonville, Oakland, just those 2. So that's not really all that surprising. Right now, I say Super Bowl rematch. If I had to pick right now, I have a rematch. Broncos, Seahawks, and I have the Seahawks winning again. I think defense wins championships. And the Seahawks have shown it twice against Denver. They beat them in the Super Bowl, and they beat them earlier on in the year. All right, that is going to wrap it up for me. Thank you for tuning in. Listen up tomorrow. Ramapo women's volleyball against Montclair State. Ramapo is second in the conference. They are 2-0 in the conference with a 15-6 overall record. Tomorrow's going to be my first play-by-play gig at the Bradley Center. Go ahead and watch. The game will be on RCTV in a couple days. I'm not sure when. But remember, let's talk goodbye. See you later. Take care, everybody.